welcoming. My name is Renee Potter, and I am the coordinator of student teaching. Today at our induction, we have a couple of individuals here who are going to talk to you about some of the expectations and opportunities that you will have during student teaching. The first person I'd like to invite up is our representative from Career Services. Michelle, you want to come up and talk to the group?
Absolutely.
Do you need this?
Oh, I'll spread it out.
Okay. Actually, the mic is working.
Okay. Well, anyway, I'll try to speak without it. I hope that most of you have seen and come to our office many times, so I'm just telling you information you already know. But I did send some packets along because now as you're transitioning into student teaching, you're also transitioning into trying to figure out what you're going to do with the rest of your lives. So don't forget that we exist for you and we want to help. A couple things just want to go over with New York State teacher certification, of course. I hope you're all on top of the changes, your testing, you know what's going on, you know you're going to have to do TPA while you're student teaching. It's still really important for you to pay attention to what's happening with New York State, what's happening with these assessments, how things may or may not change, because we do everything, both your department and our office, in our power to make sure we're on top of what's going on. But how quickly things are changing these days, sometimes we give you information today that may not be the same information next week. So, unfortunately, that's the world that we're living in right now, and it's really important that you are staying on top of what's going on with these changes and you're getting your tests taken care of. Specifically note, if you are planning on getting certified and you have not taken your multi-subject test, I really recommend you take that this summer. In case you're looking to get any extra certifications, this one will be able to overlap a little bit more. It's still the easy one, and the language on the New York State website says the multi-subject test will roll as it becomes available in the fall. So what does that mean? I have no idea. It was supposed to be out already, and it's not. But if it's ready
Most of you should get both your placements. Occasionally, there might be a few of you that maybe get one placement and then a TBA for your next one, and then keep looking because I will be updating you and getting you your next placement. So don't worry, we've never not had a placement, so it will come. I would appreciate it if you call our office like every 5 minutes and ask where's my placement, where's my placement. We are working on it and we will get it to you as soon as possible. Hopefully we should be all set. In the month of June you should start make sure that you're working and make sure that we get them out to you. So that's how the placements come. What I would suggest is as soon as you get your placements, you contact both your teachers. Really, really important that you contact, especially you make contact, especially with your first host teacher. I am so excited because fall student teachers have the best experiences because you get to see how a classroom is set up. This is a fantastic experience for you. I would encourage you, this can't be required, but we encourage you to go in and help your host teacher set up the classroom. Most of you should be available in August and see, are there times that you can come in and help them? What a fantastic experience to see. How is the room set up? What does the teacher do to prepare for all those students showing up? You are in the ideal situation of learning how to do that. So I would certainly encourage you and hope that you would go ahead and do that. It's also a really nice time to get to know your teacher a little bit before the kids show up. It gets very, very busy. The beginning of school is super busy and wild and fun. So it's a nice time for you and your teacher to get to know each other a little bit if you offer to come in a little bit ahead of time. So I would strongly encourage you to do that if possible. Again, welcome to student teaching, and especially the fall. You are going to learn how does a classroom set up their management, how is it structured, how do you get to know the children. So many fantastic experiences in the beginning of a school year. So please make notes and really participate. Show that initiative. I know a lot of the things you've heard me say over and over again in your early field experiences, but showing initiative makes a huge difference. And I hope that you saw that in your early field experiences and you learned so much more by participating and not just standing back and watching. This is your experience, so jump right in and take full advantage of it. So definitely, especially this beginning of the year part, you're going to learn so much. It's going to be so great. Just think about it. A year from now, then you're going to hopefully be starting your own classroom. So really take full advantage of that at the beginning of the year experience that you're going to be in. I just want to remind everybody to make sure you're all fingerprinted. I've told you that walk of shame story of the girl who didn't get fingerprinted, and the principal discovered it a couple weeks into student teaching and came into the room and pulled her out in front of everybody, and she had to walk down the hall with the principal and he was kicked out of the building until she went and got fingerprinted. Not thinking she's going to get a job too quick in that district or even, Principal's box. So please make sure you're all fingerprinted. Make sure that you have, you can contact you. If some of you may be in a district, Syracuse, Binghamton, for example, who, when I send you your placement, you're going to have other requirements to complete. You might have volunteer forms. You might have different specific requirements of the district. So please make sure when I send you your placement that you read all the information and that you follow through on that. Syracuse and Binghamton are pretty strict about that. So just because I send you a placement doesn't mean you can walk through the door. You do need to complete the paperwork, and Binghamton even sometimes calls you in for a little mini interview. They never turn anybody away, but they want to make sure that you're responsible enough to follow through with those kinds of things. So please be really careful that you read everything that I send out to you. Just want to make sure I don't forget anything. Let's see. Checking your email, contacting host teachers. Okay, the orange sheet that you all have, make sure that you complete that today and hand it in before you leave. That is an emergency contact form, and what that is for is hopefully this will not happen. I think we've maybe only had it happen once or twice. A student teacher has had something has happened while they're student teaching, and we needed to get a hold of an emergency person, a parent or whoever. And we need to make sure that we know who to get a hold of. Okay, so that's really, really important that you complete that before you leave today and hand it in before you leave. We're also attendance, and so if you don't hand it in, then you know that you're here, and we really want to know that you're here. There's another one in your packet, and each time you go to your place, to a first placement, you hand one in to the school, because the nurse needs to know what to do if something happened, and then the second placement, you hand it in to that school nurse also. So make sure that you do that, because it's really important that, you don't want to wait until something happens to they won't have any way of getting a hold of somebody. We certainly don't want that to, we don't want anything to happen anyway, but we just don't want to not be able to get a hold of people. Let's see. Did I see anything in there? I'm used to doing more. What? Oh, you want me to do the student teaching handbook? Okay, student teaching handbook is online. I would encourage you for some light reading this summer to gauge through it. Seriously, you just need to know policies and procedures, and just in case something comes up, you don't want to be off guard. I would go through it. It's not super lengthy, but it does have some good things in it. And there's also, again, a lot of professionalism. Again, we encourage you. I feel like I'm a broken record sometimes, but we encourage you to be very professional. This is your stepping stone to your job, literally. Okay, so you want to take this really seriously and show how dedicated and committed you are. We talk about dress, we talk about behaviors. I like that you mentioned, secretaries, custodians. Everybody in the building is checking you out, and you want to make sure that you're putting forth a very professional, very committed, dedicated, hardworking, impression for everybody. And principals do that. They'll ask the secretaries, about students that come in and whatnot. So make sure that you're really doing that everywhere you go. All right, it's competitive, and as you know, it is competitive. We want you to be successful. So it's not only in the classroom with the children, but all in the school community. And again, I would encourage you, volunteer for things. The school carnival, the after school program. See what you can get involved with. That makes you stand above the rest. Principals notice that a lot when students are really going above and beyond the actual school day. So if there's things at your school that you think you can help with, please participate in that. They're looking for that person to hire that's willing to put in the extra time and not just do the little 8 to 3. That's why I'm a teacher. Hey, get my vacation and all that. There's no more for that. So, handbook, anything particular? Little light summer reading. Yay. Anybody have any questions for me? Remember to check your part on that email. I'll be so excited when I get to send it out. All right. Good luck.
So, as Katie mentioned, that handbook is a good resource that you folks should be taking a look at. Another resource that you really should begin to take a look at is our student teaching website. It's really kind of very easy to get to. It is a task stream website, but on our field experience page, the childhood office, at the very bottom here, you'll see there's a URL, and if you just go ahead and click on that, this is where all of your student teaching assignments are housed. And so the directions are there, and all of the rubrics are there. And this is really what you should be looking at when it comes time for your assignments. Please note, yes, you will all have to complete EdTPA, and Kim is here to talk to you folks a little bit about that. We highly encourage that you go ahead and complete your EdTPA in your first placement during student teaching. We are finding this past semester that some students did have some difficulty completing that based on the actual placement itself, so they are doing it the second placement. Now, on the semester that you do not complete EdTPA, there are a number of assignments that you have to complete. They are not optional. Assignments do have to be uploaded to TaskStream so that you know up front. If you are a childhood student, you are actually going to put up 4 lesson plans in 4 different content areas. So you'll be putting up a science lesson plan, a social studies lesson plan, an ELA lesson plan, and a math lesson plan. Your supervisor will then go ahead and submit their notes after they've observed you for those particular. And that's throughout the whole semester. You will be observed 6 times during the semester. 3 observations will be done in each placement. That is something that your supervisor will schedule with you They'll come in, they'll observe the lesson, and then after the lesson, you'll kind of have a debriefing time. So you'll talk about some things that went well, and then maybe some things that you could do differently next time when it comes time for teaching your lesson. So those 4 lessons will be uploaded to TaskStream. 2 other things that will be uploaded to TaskStream is you are going to have to do an integrated thematic unit plan, and this is for all majors. I'm just going to click on, you'll notice here, there's some general resources here. We have some information for you. New York State Learning Standards. There are 2 assignments, a school familiarization form and a classroom familiarization form. A number of our supervisors do ask our students to complete that. That's just getting you accustomed to the building and the school. There is also an opportunity for you to observe your cooperating teacher. And a lot of you have done observations. You'll notice this looks very similar to some of the things that you've done already. There's a formal evaluation, a student teaching formal evaluation with lesson plan observation. Just to click on this, this is what our supervisors use when they come in to observe you. So I highly recommend that you look at this before you are observed. You'll notice the first page is asking information about the lesson plan, how well you presented the lesson, how well your classroom management was being utilized during the lesson, some personal qualities, so your volume of your voice, were you enthusiastic during the particular lesson, were you using correct grammar, so we'll be looking for those things. We're also looking for types of assessment that you're going to be utilizing during the lesson. The second page is a little bit more content focused. So if you have you're teaching a science lesson, there are certain things that we'll be looking for in that particular science lesson. Here you can see it's the reading, writing, and oral language, mathematics, and then social studies. So supervisors will, on that second page, will complete a particular section depending on what your lesson, what content area your lesson is going to be. But again, I think it's a wonderful resource for you to take a look at before you are actually observed so that you know what folks are asking you to do. We do have a lesson plan template. This is just a suggestion. We are seeing lots of different lesson plan templates out there. So it's going to have to be something that you're comfortable with, your supervisor is comfortable with, and your cooperating teacher. So that will be a discussion that you have with your supervisor. We have 2 other assignments, diversity assignment and a video assignment. To be perfectly honest with you, not all supervisors require that, but that will be, again, something that you'll be notified by your supervisor. You'll notice here also information is split up between those folks who are EDC majors and those folks who are EDD and EDEs. And so depending on what your major is, you will have to look in either section for the explanation of 2 other assignments that you have during student teaching. You'll notice here that each major does require an integrated thematic unit plan. Now remember, I'm going to stress this again. This is done on the quarter that you are not doing EdTPA. Okay, so you'll do this on the other. So if you do EdTPA first quarter, second quarter, you're doing the integrated thematic unit plan. And there is a summary sheet here. There's also the grading form. The rubric is there. They're actually, I'm going to be honest with you, quite lengthy, and it takes a while for them to load, so I won't click on them yet. But you'll notice that all the information is right there for you. And then we also have an assessment assignment, which is in 4 steps. You do a pre-assessment, you look at the data, you then go ahead and develop a lesson plan that will meet any deficiencies in a lesson. You then go ahead and develop a lesson to meet those deficiencies. You then post-assess the students, and then you compare the data. So there's 4 steps that you have to take. Again, every major will do this, and it is on the off quarter from your EdTPA. Okay? You cannot use any of this information as EdTPA. I want to make sure that folks know that. You're not just going to submit the same information. A number of cooperating teachers have already hosted our student teachers. They are expecting you to do a thematic unit plan. They're expecting an assessment assignment. They're well aware of those requirements that we have at the college. So those assignments will be there. So those students who are EDD, EDEs, and EDCs, you will be required to put 1 unit plan, integrated unit plan, and 1 assessment up in TaskStream. So depending on the major, depends on what's going into TaskStream. You are also at this point in time to be expected to be completing your portfolio, your online portfolio. That will be submitted a complete portfolio. Complete. That means everything has to be completed in regards to the standards when it comes time for your portfolio when you finally submit it at the end of student teaching. You are also going to submit your EdTPA to Cortland for program. This is not certification. If you're choosing to submit for certification, you still have to go through Pearson. You still have to pay the Pearson fee. However, we are requiring the online portfolio for all majors at this point in time, and it's usually submitted at the end of the semester for the student teaching semester. In addition to the 4 observations that your supervisor will be doing, you are also going to have what we refer to as the student teaching evaluation, and we just refer to that as an STE. The student teaching evaluation is done twice per placement, at 4 weeks and at 8 weeks at each placement. You as a student teacher will be completing the STE, your cooperating teacher will be completing the STE, and your supervisor will be completing it. There are 10 categories. They are listed in the student teaching handbook that Katie mentioned, so again, a resource you want to take a look at. There are 10 categories. You evaluate yourself, target, acceptable, and unacceptable. We usually have meetings once those are completed. The triad has a meeting, and we talk about where things are and where things need to go at that point in time. Okay, so that will happen twice a quarter, so a total of 4 times throughout the semester. Okay. So what happens at the beginning of the semester is you will receive a calendar from your supervisor that has broken each week of student teaching up and what you need to do during each of those weeks. Kim's going to share an EdTPA calendar with you folks. We even have it for EdTPA to kind of assist you in guiding you through that. So we have lots of resources that are there to help you. I want you to understand that your supervisor is the individual who really is coordinating your student teaching. And so when they give you that calendar and their list of expectations, those are the individual things that you need to be following. Now, you may talk to a friend, you may be student teaching in Ithaca, and you may be talking to a friend in Long Island. I know for a fact we have a supervisor in Ithaca who does require a daily journal. I'm not sure if everybody in Long Island requires that. However, it doesn't matter. Your supervisor is telling you they want that, you are to do that. So your supervisor is technically your instructor, and that is the individual who will guide you through this process. So that, I don't want people like to call me and say, well, they're not doing that down in Long Island, or they're not doing that in Albany. I'm going to tell you the same thing I'm telling you right now. It's your individual supervisor. The only things that are not negotiable are EdTPA, the Integrated Thematic Unit Plan, the assessment assignment, and the 4 observations that have to be uploaded to TaskStream. Okay? So again, make sure that you're listening to what your supervisor is saying. Any questions for me in regards to assignments and expectations that will be happening during student teaching? No questions?
Okay, one quick thing, while you're talking about calendar, I forgot to mention, you must go by the public school calendar, okay? Make sure that you're not going ahead and making any, it doesn't happen as much in the fall as in the spring, but make sure you're not making any vacation plans without looking at the public school calendar. You will have vacations according to them, you can't go on your own little vacations.
No.
Okay? So just make sure that that's really clear. You might want to get right on the school website once you get your placement and make sure you're seeing what days you have off. And make sure that you know that a staff day means the day that you are attending. It won't be children. Those are those schools, the staff development days. Those are required for student teaching. Okay? So just be aware of that.
You are
Students in the past who decide to make little spring break plans without realizing that they're required to.
You are following your cooperating teacher's schedule. So if your cooperating teacher needs to be there by 7:30 every morning, you need to be there by 7:30 every morning. And if they have to stay to 3:30 or 4 o'clock, you are staying to 3:30, 4 o'clock. Whatever their schedule is your schedule. And I highly recommend that we have a number of teachers who do stay significantly later than that you stay with your cooperating teacher the whole entire time. So you're going ahead and staying with their schedule. Okay. No questions for me? Okay. I am going to turn it over to Kim Kennedy. She is our EdTPA coordinator, or what is your title? Advisor. She's an advisor for the childhood and early childhood department. Just one thing I do want to say, if you are an EDD or an EDD or EDE student, Trish Roiger is here. Yay, Trish. She does want to talk to you folks for just a minute after our presentation this afternoon to just get some information to you about seminar that Trish does have for the students.
Bob, do you want to meet your students too? Syracuse, do you want to meet your Syracuse students?
Briefly, yes, please.
Okay. Bob Ramson is right in the back, and if you're in the Syracuse Center, he just wants to meet with you briefly afterwards also. Okay?
And briefly, while we're talking about afterwards, okay, so I was telling Dr. Whittle earlier that we need to have like the, that happy song, have a little EdTPA happy dance. Because I usually get the negative faces and the stressed out faces, so I'm going to be working on that to kind of help us through this process. So I kind of chose a prezi of a crystal ball because the EdTPA in a lot of ways has been like a crystal ball for us, trying to figure out what's what and what we have to do. So I'm hopefully going to enlighten you as to the contents of our crystal ball. And I'm going to start off first with what happened last week, which got us all in a rumble last week in terms of what were the changes. And some people got confused because there were two things going on. There was that bill that was put into the state to get rid of it altogether. And then, of course, the Board of Regents met in terms of what are we going to do about this with certification. So, some of you already heard about what's happening, but I have this nice little flow chart here that will tell you EdTPA didn't go away as of yet, and my personal opinion is it won't be going away. So don't get your hopes up all summer thinking that maybe we don't have to do it. You're going to have to do it, okay? So just get your mind ready, set, go for EdTPA. What they did create is a safety net until June 30th of next year in case you fail. Okay? Before last week, if you failed, your only option was to retake. You could retake one task, if that was going to give you enough points, or you could retake the whole thing. Okay? And we have a process for all that, and you would work with me directly to help you through that process. So last week, they made another option for you. If you don't want to retake the EdTPA, you can take the ATSW exam. Did anyone in here take that exam? Okay, I didn't think so because you're graduating past December 2013 when all the testing changed and you took all the new tests. It was one of the old tests before EdTPA came about. So you have the option to do that. It's your choice. As of now, we don't know what's going to happen in your Teach account. We don't know if it's going to still say EdTPA failed and then ATSW passed. We don't know. We'll get that information to you as soon as we find out. Okay? So right now, there is a safety net for you if you do fail to make those choices. Okay? Questions about that? All right, so the rumors have subsided. Okay, so I wanted to make you feel a little better. This semester's group of student teachers, the EdTPA then when your score will come back. So you can kind of see, okay, I want my score by this date, when should I turn it into Pearson, okay? So Blaze is happy so far. So Renee talked about a timeline that is set up for you. This is a suggested timeline. Your schedule with where your placement is, it's going to be dependent on. You might have to do your STPA second placement. Childhood ed majors, you might want to do your task 4 in your second placement, or you might not. Also, you'll see that I have, you can't really see, but you're going to get this email to you tomorrow morning. I have places in there where you're going to do your writing. You know, begin writing your planning commentary in this week. What you're going to want to find are large chunks of time where you can write. What our student teachers are telling us so far is they'll take an entire Saturday and spend 6 hours just at their computer writing. So if you have a Saturday where you're not available to do that, you're going to have a different Saturday where you're doing the writing part. Okay, so this is a timeline to kind of give you a pacing and spacing chart. Okay? So I have 2 of them here, one for our childhood majors and one for our early childhood and dual certs. Okay? And at the end of each of them, I kind of give you a little bit of advice and tell you what the passing score is and the mastery score, which we do have people in our department meeting mastery. So, pretty awesome. Renee also mentioned you're going to be turning this in twice. You're going to be turning it in for Cortland on task stream, and then through task stream there is a process to get it to Pearson. Okay, and you'll have all of that information in time for you to do that. So a lot of people will work on it right through task stream along the way and find that that works out easier than at the last minute transferring everything into task stream and then to Pearson. Okay, does that make sense? Okay. So some basic tips. This is a lot different for you because you've been working on the handbook a lot in your 479 classes. So you are reading and understanding all the parts, okay? Please make sure that you do understand it before you begin. We've had people start it in sequential order. Okay, I do task 1, and after that I do task 2, and after that I do task 3. When you get to task 3, you realize if you didn't read task 3 ahead of time, you may not have done things in task 1 that you needed to do for task 3. And I believe, didn't we have somebody decide to redo their entire EdTPA because they didn't realize they had enough for task 3? Okay? Utilize all the page limits they give you as well. Some of the scorers are saying that task 1 utilizes all the page limits, task 2 gets a little bit shorter, and task 3 gets a lot shorter and very brief. The scorers can't go back and look at what you did in task 1 when they're scoring task 3. So you have to write task 3 in as much detail as you can. Okay, make sense? All right. Also, if you haven't done so already, dig out your Lit 371 and 372 materials. As you know, EdTPA is a lot about literacy. Those strategies are in those 2 classes. If you're an EDC major, dig out your 373 work so that you have the resources you need to do task 4 and have them with you. A lot of people said that to me this semester. I don't have my things from that class with me because if they weren't student teaching at home, they didn't have it with them. Okay, so if you're not at home or you don't have your work with you, get the work from those classes. Okay, that'll be helpful for you. And I said already, the time management is going to be huge, huge for you during student teaching. So follow those timelines that you're given from EdTPA as well as your supervisors and find lengthy periods of time to get in the zone for your writing. Okay? Questions? All right, so we have some resources set up. There is a Cortland website for EdTPA, and Chris Whittle's going to be updating that this summer as well to add some more. And you'll see that they've added the part about the safety net right here. And there's some frequently asked questions about that safety net, so you can go back and look at that if you need to. And we also, last semester, we did some EdTPA study halls that were live streamed for our friends that were far away and could not come. Those were videotaped, and they are up on this link, which will also be emailed to you in the morning. So these were helpful. They were done in terms of by task or by topic, in terms of like academic language or whatnot. So these will be helpful resources for you. Okay? And then the advisor. If there's a question you don't understand, your supervisor doesn't understand, I am here. That is my email. Okay? I had date night with many people every night, about 7 o'clock to 11 o'clock with EdTPA questions. So I'm ready for you, okay? So one thing I want to tell you about that, though, is you need to use your Cortland email address when you're emailing me. Otherwise, you're not going to get my answer for a couple of days because it goes into spam. And then when I get a spam report, I can say, okay, deliver this. EdTPA question. Okay, so make sure you're using your Cortland email so it gets to me right away. Also, let me know which handbook you're talking about. Because a lot of times people have a question for me, and I don't know if you're doing the early childhood or the elementary one. And there's a difference with the questions in some cases. Okay, so just let me know which major you are, and I can help you better that way. Okay? Keep calm. Questions at TPA? No questions for anyone.
Can I make two recommendations, Kim?
Yes.
One is obviously you need a task stream account. Your account is running out, get it back up. You have that task stream account. All the documents are in there, and so you can be working right on them. Also, yeah, questions?
How do you know it's like right now?
I think you can check on to see when your subscription runs out, so I will go ahead and look in there, the task stream. The other thing is please, 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 please save and back up everything, including your videos. One of our student teachers, at the end of her first placement's car was broken into, and her iPad was stolen. And she has no videotapes from her at TPA and had to start all over again. So, you really need to make sure that you are saving these documents and videos multiple places so that you have access to it. You would hate to have somebody have to go and redo it again in their second place. Okay? So you want to make sure you're doing it.
And I do have it in the timeline, but just to make it clear, if your focus student doesn't have their permission slip back, don't start teaching or pick a different focus student. We did have that happen in a different department where the focus
information in the placement process. For instance, if somebody who's going to Long Island, we do have one district that likes to have interviews before they actually